Alright, what's up yins guys? I'm going to do another video here. And I wanted to do a video specifically about that YouTube channel, the Fullerton Informer. Yeah, today it's kind of, rainy and overcast out here and a little bit of wind blowing. You can't hear the wind, but I got to make sure I don't fuck up the video because I did videos in the past where you got a little bit of wind, and if I don't talk enough, I ruin the video. Even though you don't hear it, you play a video back and put it on YouTube, you'll actually hear a little whistling of wind, and then everything you said, that video was done for nothing. So make sure I speak louder too, and then I have in the background back here the whole central air conditioning unit for the building, which it's running in the background. If I do my video too close over there, I have to talk really loud. So anyway, since it's a video about the Hunger Games, and I think I put it on one of my fitness and prepper crossover Facebook groups. So I have a Facebook group of particular names that I name, but it's a combination of like fitness and prepare. Doomsday prepping, and like a lot of other topics, whether you want to call them questioning spiritual things and certain kind of cryptic and occultic type of things that are running things. And I wanted to do a few, since people my age, like I'm a 47-year-old curmudgeon, and that probably totally lost the plot in the eyes of a lot of these other younger people that are like watching things. But I want to talk about some old school movies that kind of like the Hunger Games, that had cryptic symbolism in it to actually prove a point that was actually supposed to teach us something. Some of them were apocalyptic movies. That before you even had social media and that, when television, we didn't have internet streaming video. We had television signed off at the end of like about 3 in the morning. You had the 8 o'clock television every Fridays, and we were allowed to, yes, the next day was Saturdays. Some of us were allowed to stay up as long as we want as kids, up until some late movie was on, right? And then they'd play the national anthem and TV would sign off for a few hours, and whatever 80s 8 o'clock television you wanted to actually talk about, and you had your Saturday morning cartoons. And oh hell yeah, too, Apocalyptic, that was one of my cartoon influence about the apocalyptic things and symbolic cryptic things. I put things on a list on my phone instead of a piece of paper. I didn't want to try to cover all these movies, but since I brought up TV signing off for the night, those times, Saturday morning cartoon, Apocalyptic, it was like Thundar the Barbarian, World in Ruins, and everything, in so many scenarios like that, it was like set up in post-apocalyptic doomsday scenario. But yeah, one thing I want to talk about, the late movies after 8 o'clock television. When we were kids, we were allowed to stay up late. You had the late movies before you before TV completely signed off, and then we went to sleep, that Friday, and then it was Saturday morning. You actually managed to get up or something. Saturday morning cartoons were on. Yeah, one of the late movies that influenced me too, it was the cryptic symbolism. Even now, if you watch it, even now, Yul Brynner and Max von Sydow in The Ultimate Warrior. You can find it on YouTube now as a topic. I think the owners, Warner Brothers, the owners or whatever, are putting things up there as a topic now. And one of the conversations that I could never forget, Yul Brynner and Max von Sydow sitting in a place of all kind of old clocks and stuff, and he was kind of the baron, the leader. They called him the baron, the leader of this whole like a clan or they called it a commune of people that were surviving. There were some people that were the bad guys, played by William Smith. If you look him up, there were some other movies he played the bad guy. But anyway, Max von Sydow and Yul Brynner were in the conversation talking because he was recruited, invited to join them because they needed extra manpower, somebody that's capable of being a fighter, security for the group and things like that. And they're talking, right? He says, "What was my pitch? Which thing did I pitch to you? Get you to actually join us? Was it the special treatment, the rations of food? Was it that when I said we don't comment the lives or goods of anybody?" And then he goes, You said you have a lifetime cache of cigars?" But later on, Yul Brynner, if you find him, and you can find his old YouTube video too about, before he eventually died, he had a old public service message telling you don't smoke, because he was sick from smoking, American Heart Association, stuff like that. But not to get off the subject, but anyway, yeah. And then after he says about the cigars, he goes, it's kind of funny. What becomes one of the, this is a favorite statement. You can apply this statement to almost anything. He goes, "It's astounding or amazing what becomes valuable to us when almost everything else is gone." And then they're talking about this. Yul Brynner goes, "Oh, I think I know this. What's that? A symbol?" Like it was for Cadillac. Back when younger people might know this if they've seen junk cars or worked anywhere near scrap or junk cars or seen it. Back when cars used to have hood ornaments, cars and pickup trucks and even semi-trucks had hood ornaments. He says, "I think I know this." And then Max von Sydow talks about, it was when his father ran a Cadillac, and he become depressed and he just shut completely down. No gas to run the car was his pride, and then they all died of the epidemics. Talked about the plagues, the epidemics, and this one guy, he had made later in the movie, he was things that even killed the plant life, but he managed to grow food still. Yet, the bad guys would enter the picture. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, that was a thing I want to talk about, but then there was another movie later on in the days of the 80s when we were all watching HBO and MTV, a movie with Kurt Thomas, which was a professional athlete. He played, this kind of matches, if you've gotten this far in this video and didn't just turn it off. This really is one thing that I want to cover that looks like the Hunger Games, you know what I mean? Before we ever have the Hunger Games, we had Kurt Thomas in a movie called GymKata, which he had to go in this game in a city that he was in, some kind of third worldish country that they were still in. The people that he was going for this game, he was actually a government operative, but yet he had to go for some reason into this one country that they're still living in medievalism, third world, almost living in medieval times, and the guy was kind of like a king. And they had a city walled off where a village of the crazy, anybody criminally insane or goofy in the head, like retarded or something, and things wrong with them, were thrown in the city. So him and a bunch of athletes had to go through the city and keep from getting killed. They were also cannibals, right? And they had a, so one of the bad guys that was, wanted to marry this king's daughter, whatever. He was a real asshole, the bad guy, and he wanted to kill Kurt Thomas, and he was killing the other athletes. And remember the famous, you can look at clips on YouTube, they're still up here, GymKata, Village of the Crazies, and then there was one, a town square battle. I mean, there was symbolism in this movie if you see past the martial arts, exaggerated martial arts things, you know. And Kurt Thomas was a good athlete too, you know, he was a gymnast and all that, but the people he battled, there was some interesting symbolism to communicate something, kind of like the Hunger Games. The enemies he battled, there was this guy that tried to kill him that he had a face on the other side. He switched over Jekyll and Hyde, like he had his back turned, but there was a face here, but he turned around and there was another face. I don't know if it was some crazy cannibal guy that actually killed somebody and sewed his face, took the face off and put it in the back of his head as a kind of to play tricks on the people he wanted to kill, or if the guy actually was deformed or whatever. But evidently the guy appeared to be double jointed, and when you eventually had to fight the guy was able to turn around and try to hit him other ways. I don't know, maybe he was a deformed guy, but I think it was symbolic about two-faced people, you know, double-minded people, you know, because your hero walked by the guy, and then as soon as he walked by the guy, he turned his face like that. But then he was trying to kill him later. And then there was a guy dressed just like Jesus, you know, to try to give our hero a false security that, like, he was saying, come, you know, and make him come this way. But when he turned around, you know, and disappeared through a door that was locked, the back of the guy was ass crack showing and everything. But if you see past where, if anybody watched that movie, oh, how dare him, that's offensive against Jesus. I can agree with you in a way, but I think it was meant to be a symbol of, you got people pretending to be Jesus, but you got that shit in the world now, you know, using Jesus, and behind in walls, actually, there's a lewdness and a treachery, you know, people we literally pretended to be for Jesus, pretended to be Jesus. And then like then he goes in there and these other crazy people are trying to grab him or whatever. And then there was these bunch of women that were kind of looking like nuns, and he was just going past them, thought they were harmless women. They were kind of trying to get all touchy-feely, but he was just trying to figure he could slip past them, and they were actually trying to physically harm them or whatever. So he kind of, you want to punch and get away from me kind of thing, you know. It was they were kind of create a creepy scenario. But then I guess the guy dressed as in all in black jumps him, tries to give him a stranglehold, and he gets out of him, and then he kicks the guy in the face and all that jazz. So I guess these women dressed like nuns were like, the one guy jumps him and says, oh, dressed like a priest, oh, you, how dare you get past my evil nuns. I guess I have to, so, you know, he kind of decimates that dude and all that. Then later, the big old brawl going on in the whole village square, you know what I mean, too. They all with pitchforks. Oh, and the one other athlete that was a bad guy chasing him and trying to kill him, too, because he just wanted to win. He got killed, stabbed to death by the guys and the crazies and the pitchfork, right? And And the one that was trying to kill him, he got killed by the crazies and all that stuff. But he gets out, and our hero running out of there, and they're all with pitchforks chasing after him. And he had to do a we call American Ninja Warrior now, get up the wall, and then these crazies had the dogs and trying to get him, and they're all after him. And he gets out of there, and then later on in the movie, he had to deal with the bad guy, the main bad guy, so to speak. But anyway, yeah, and, so I want to talk about these things in all in one video. I had like a list here too of other symbolic movies, too, where I want to say the Book of Eli, a guy that's blind, and trying to save the world. He had a mission, and then he finally, at the end of the movie, he gets in something that's like a bunker they have. I think that was like I think it was an old boat or something. At the end, he makes it. I don't want to be a spoiler, but everybody's seen it, but he eventually gets where he's at. But in the whole movie, he has to deal with people that are cannibals trying to trap him. But in the movie, he was blind, but yet people can say, oh, what kind of apocalyptic movie is about that? A blind guy being able to defeat all those guys. But and again, the guy being blind, there can be all kind of symbolisms and all the people he had to deal with in the movie, So, and again, you can say, oh, what kind of movie is that? A blind guy, but yet there's a symbolic nature to that if you want to see through it. And then, there's a movie, I think it was a great movie. But anyway, a movie called The Road, which father and son, were looking to get somewhere at a better place, in a nutshell. So not to go too on about it, they ran into, you'll see in a movie that these guys that were doomsday preppers, but they were evil, and they wanted he didn't trust them, and they were trying to get him and the kid. And he had to use his last bullet to shoot one of them and all that. And then when he got away from them, all that, and got somewhere where he could get his stuff or whatever, he found one of the guys, those doomsday prepper militia guys that he shot was underneath a truck, and when he got away from him, he was hiding, and the guy's head was just there, and there was something that looked like intestines, so I guess looks like they took everything, because they were preppers, that indicated that they cannibalized, he got away and they were hiding. They shot the guy. He shot the guy right in the nose. So the doomsday preppers that didn't catch our heroes there, they just cannibalized. I guess they must have took everything they could, and cannibalized the guy. But then a year later, our heroes later would run into a whole field that's like a whole pile of skulls, like there was cannibalism going on. And then in the end of the movie, you almost like it's a happy, sad thing where the father dies, right? And then there was this group of family, a kid and a dog. So the kid finds a new family. Through the whole apocalyptic scenario, it's like, wow. The kid finds a family and everything, and it indicates all is going to be well, which a very good scenario going on there. Oh, when I talked about the Book of Eli, even though it ain't so apocalyptic, the Book of Eli, the guy was blind. It reminded me another video that's not so another movie that ain't so apocalyptic. I don't know if you want to look at it on YouTube or find it on Netflix and watch it. It was called Blind Fury, where our one hero was I guess he was a war veteran. He lost his sight in war, some dang how, and he had a blind guy's staff, but actually a sword hidden in it. There was all kind of people, corrupt police and every kind of people were after him. So since I brought up the Book of Eli, it reminded me, I have a list on my phone, I wanted to try to cover all this. And yeah, there's a lot of symbolism about how the world was getting in it, and I mean, you want to check that movie out. Then they later had our blind guy later on, our blind hero later had the bad guys recruited a ninja guy with a Japanese sword, and they have a final battle, which you theoretically, come on, Well, in Star Wars, Luke Skywalker had the first Star Wars movie, I mean, the people with the helmet on, hey, eyes could be deceiving, but if you want to see past, you know, you might call bullshit on it, but it's a movie. I believe Blind Fury, there was a symbolic thing in the whole movie from the guy being blind. If you want to see past the thing, oh, a blind guy could do all that. There was deliberate symbolism in it, you know what I mean? Let's see, what else didn't I cover here? Oh yeah, Van Damme's Cyborg. I wanted to cover that, you know, too. Which, you know, Amazon.com, there was a guy that put a bad rating on that, but the reason why I like it and say it's good. He nailed the whole things about calling it a bad movie. He says, oh, all the characters, the bad guy, Van Damme's name was Gibson, and the bad guy's name was Fender, and all that. And yeah, maybe he was right about that, but I wouldn't have given him a bad reference. But I happen to saw things on YouTube. I guess there was never before seen footage. You can get an edition which scenes that were deleted. I think the original writer of the movie was fired. They put another guy in. The guy to give a bad reference on the Van Damme movie was kind of observant there, because like in that never before seen footage, Fender was killing the one guy, and he before he killed him and cut his head off. That guy was also named Strat. As a Stratocaster, so Stratocaster guitar. And Fender didn't call the guy's name by his name in the original cut that we're used to all seeing, but you can find on YouTube. I can give you a link to it. There's a YouTube channel. And then when a guy kills him, the part that you don't see in the DVD that everybody buys, unless you get this other edition, Fender cuts the guy's head off, and before he says, yeah, I claim your soul for Satan and stuff like that. I mean, this was some footage in there, if you guys know the movie, that they kind of was supposed to be in the movie, but I think was too much for the movie. But there was deals about indication in a movie where Fender's gang there was sacked and burned and killed people in this whole village or commune or whatever. And there was one of the guys was actually cooking a dead guy in a fire, you know, like Cannibalism. They literally had their heads hanging everywhere. The beginning of the movie, there was a whole abandoned wrecked street where, you know, girls exotic dancing. There was a crucified nude. It actually looked like a mannequin, but I think it was supposed to be a crucified nude dead woman. Might have been an exotic dancer, I don't know. The beginning of that whole thing opening up it's all symbolism. The whole movie was as intentional symbolism. And one of the bad guys looked like he was on steroids, a really big guy. And if you want to think of somebody that big, one character that big, you know, and them big muscles and all that, you couldn't possibly, you know, be that built in a apocalyptic scenario. But I think it was done deliberately to exaggerate, give you a clear hint about big burly people, and to exaggerate the scenario of cannibalism. You get these people, the bad guys, maybe that they're all crazy looking and muscle bound, you know, and everybody else is scrimping, doing everything to survive. They wanted to give you a exaggerated visual image of, you might have guys more built than you out there that are trying to kill you, and they're built like that because they're practicing cannibalism, you know. They don't gotta care what they have to do. These are really evil guys, you know. It's meant to be symbolism if you want to see past, you know, things like that. But I mean, yeah, I want to share with you some things about, like, and also again in that movie too, from the opening of that movie, they were looking for a cure for the plague, and the bad guy don't want the cure for the plague. Restore it? Why? I like the death, I like the misery, I like this world. No way you curing the plague to restore civilization. Hell no, I'm the bad guy, I want the misery, I want to rule this world. So therefore I don't want civilization, you know. But I mean, you can have that point beyond the Hunger Games, you know what I mean? Like this guy was talking about. Yeah, what if you get something that's like the new Hunger Games, but what if you get a collapsed world where even all these people, politicians and rule, they're screwed. A lot of them are dead, and then everybody's spending for themselves. You know what I mean? Possible scenario. Oh yeah, and before I end this movie, there was Escape from New York, which is a classic where they tried to curb the criminally insane. It's just too much. They decide to wall everybody off, and if you commit a crime, you're just out of the city. And instead of giving you execution and getting rid of you, throwing you in prison, they just throw you. They walled off a part of New York and threw everybody there. So yeah, instead of Hunger Games, any of you guys, you think that if it's not living the Hunger Games or living some of these other dystopian science fiction things? Well, yeah, and I always thought too, if they elected the wrong female president, we might be living the Vin Diesel movie Babylon A.D. You know, if you guys you got this far in this video, if you ever saw the Vin Diesel movie Babylon A.D., how the woman, the bad guy, she had the power to use missiles, kill the Russian guy with missiles in his own compound, and his last words were, "Bitch!" And then she also blew up the convent where the nun and that young girl that Vin Diesel was hired to protect or whatever, where they came from, blew that place up. And the woman was a very narcissistic, crazy cult leader, somewhere on the order, like maybe a female version of, I don't know, Scientology church. So if you hear all the rumors of some other crazy cult that's out there, you know what I mean? I don't know, you know, it's just, I wanted to use this video just to actually talk about symbolic movies, whether you think the Fullerton Informer he's just a conspiracy theorist. I think he gives a lot of good information and incites me to talk about references to other movies, really. So there you have it.